Gregg, Start House, anonymous customer's foot, who needs very desperately fifth metatarsal punches. He needs room in the boot, basically. Bony bits are often caused by being tight and getting tight in the boot up against the plastic of the boot once the liner wears down a little bit. Bony bits in the foot can run into the side of the boot, and the body thinks there's an issue with the bone. So what it does is the body, doing what the body does, it will send calcium deposits down to repair this bone. Well, the only problem with that is there's not really a problem with the bone, there's a problem with the spatial relations inside the boot. So what we need to do is get inside that boot and make the inside of that boot look a little more like this guy's foot. And how we're going to do that is we're going to mark the foot, properly position the foot inside the boot shell without the liner involved, and that will give us a location inside the boot. We'll transfer that to the outside of the boot with a set of calipers, and then we'll use heat and some press tools to make this guy a little bit of room in there, get him more comfortable. So we're going to start with left foot, and typically what we do is we're going to use the footbed that normally runs in the boot. We oftentimes will run a bit of a shim underneath that. The shim kind of simulates the thickness of the bottom of the liner. So that ensures that the height of the foot is at the right spot. And then of course, when he's standing on the footbed, it ensures that the foot's supported and that the bones are kind of lining up the way they're supposed to. We use cover up. You can use lipstick, but lipstick's harder to transfer from the foot onto the boot. Cover up works really good. So we just put a little dab of cover up on the foot, right on the metatarsal. We load the boot with the aforementioned accoutrements. And then, so what we're gonna do, I'm gonna hold the boot open nice and wide for you. Okay. You're gonna slowly put your foot in there. Try not to let this rub against the side of the boot. When your foot does land in the boot, it's awesome if your heel's all the way back in the boot for me, okay? So just take your time with this. Okay, very good. We're gonna pick the boot up and just let it land flat. Awesome. Bring that knee forward a hair. Make sure that heel's all the way in the back of the boot. What you're gonna do is keep your foot flat on the deck of the boot, and I want you to roll to your outside edge and let that bone come over there and make a mark. You feel that bone hitting?
Yes.
Very good. Go back to neutral for me. Give me a sec to open the boot up. Come on out of there. Watch your heel on the back of the bench. Okay. And I can see a little mark in there where your foot transferred. We're gonna repeat on the other side. Again, shim, and a footbed, and a foot in the boot. Okay, let the boot land flat. Okay, knee forward, make sure your heel's all the way back. Once again, keep your foot on the deck of the boot. Go ahead and roll to your outside edge. Feel that hitting? Very good, straighten back up. Come on out. And we got a mark on that one as well. You can wipe your feet down with that, and we'll get started on the punches. Okay, so now we got to do is we got to get in there and mark where this spot is, right? So we use these boot spreader tools and open up this guy like so, and then it's easy to see where that mark is, right? On the inside of there, you can see where the cover up transferred onto the boot shell. So what we do is we take a set of calipers like this. We make sure that they're actually meeting for accuracy. Okay, boom. And then we're gonna reach in there. So now I know that the other side of the caliper from that mark is exactly where his foot is. Now, I also know that there is the fact that his foot is going to be inside of a liner when he's in the boot. So I'm gonna cheat that mark forward just a couple of millimeters, 1 or 2 millimeters, just to make it a little more accurate from where he's gonna be when he's inside the liner. And the punch piece is gonna be slightly bigger than what his 5th metatarsal is, so we've got that going for us as well. The beauty of punches is that if this is at the wrong place or it's a little too big or not big enough, it's easy to just reheat the plastic of the boot and start over and move that punch around. If you do it this way though, you'll get it right almost every time. So we simply repeat on the other boot. Helps when you get the right side. Okay, so now there's a lot of ways you can skin the cat on this. In terms of tooling, we like to remove the boot boards. Don't ruin these when you're punching boots, because you got to get these things pretty hot to affect change. This is your standard Scott press. You got a bunch of different bits. This is actually a 5th met with some kind of fatty parts of the foot behind it. If we're just trying to do a 5th met for this gentleman, we're probably going to run this piece. Okay, it's a little dome piece. This is about the shape of that. It gives me a little bit of fore and aft room in there for comfort. This would be a great piece for that. This requires heating the boot up with some sort of heat source, usually a heat gun like this, getting it nice and hot. And then as you have the boot on here, these arms up top will push down on that spot of the boot and dome it up in the air. And that's very much what you're trying to do. The other way you can do this is internal heat. We've got this machine here. These bits take heat from some energy inside the system. A basket will go up top, something like this. Same kind of theory, whereas the hotter this gets, so it's going to let that plastic push up right here a little bit as this compresses down on top of the boot. On this machine, when the heating cycle's done, these fans kick on and shoot air through here and cool the heating bits down and cools the boot down. It's another important part of this process is that you get enough heat into the boot to affect change, and then you cool the plastic down the whole way before you take all the stuff back out. And if you do that properly, the punches last for a really long time, assuming you're working with good plastics in a boot. If your boot costs $300 new, it's probably not gonna work really well. You can punch it, but the punches typically don't hold. Cheap boots are usually nylon-based plastic, and they just don't work that well. So polyurethanes, polyethers, those plastics tend to hold punches really well. So since getting heat into the boot is pretty important, I like to cheat the system a little bit and get a little more heat into the boot than is completely necessary. But I find that the punches tend to hold a little better when we do this. It's also a little easier on the machine. Okay, we're looking pretty good. This is probably about enough heat to do it. Now, I get the added benefit of having some internal on here. We're gonna get that buckle out of the way. I don't like the way that's looking. So, we're going to keep a really good eye on this as it goes through the heating cycle. We're gonna do a 140 cycle. This is Celsius at 8 minutes. Once this comes to temp, it's gonna heat for 8 minutes at 140 C, and then it's gonna kick the fan on, shut the heat off, and cool the bit down. So we're gonna do the same thing with the other boot. So, punch is done. Punches are done, almost. The last thing we're gonna do is, we've got a nice little spot for his fifth met to live here in the boot shell. But the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna spot heat the liner a little bit right here. Because essentially what you have inside the boot is now something that looks like this inside. And you need the liner to stretch into this part of the shell as well. Now, if I just sent this guy out skiing for a couple days, it would slowly work its way in there, but you can fast track this and get it feeling really good from day one just by doing a little spot heat. I didn't mark this, you just kind of know about where they are. You got to be pretty careful heating the liners up with a heat gun. Kind of let the heat cycle and slowly settle in there. And when you get this material hot, it just becomes really stretchy, right? So you can see that'll dome up really nice. So then I just quickly take the same piece I used to punch the shell out, and I'm just pre-stretching that a little bit. This works exceptionally well in a brand new boot with a brand new liner. Okay, so in conclusion, just kidding. So second boot, second punch. Kind of see it domed up in there. And again, the beauty of punches is if we're slightly off on the punch, it's easy enough to just, you know, reheat and change. Again, good plastics make this easier and it makes it a longer lasting job. Your boot fitter can tell you if he or she is gonna have better luck with the boot or not. So we're just gonna do sort of the same thing we did in the other boot. Footbed, everything back together. Quick little spot heat on the liner. Don't forget your boot boards. Okay, we have them try it on, see how we did. Off here in just a couple quick minutes. Okay, enough?
It was probably there all along and it got worse over time.
And that is how we do a fifth metatarsal punch at Start House.